another episode of Rift News, the show you decided to watch because Eternals emerged again and you want to see if there is a redemption story. But before we get to Eternals, we got a lot of other stuff to talk about. So as always, let's start with what's happening on the live servers. Patch 10.4 is out, which means that Blood Moon skins were released. We got your shop open with it, and in TFT, Olaf isn't so useless anymore. But those aren't the important bits. Besides these, most servers got to try the official release of Clash on the 21st of February. Now, I am saying most because, as usual, EU was on fire. And so, Clash for EU was moved to next week. So the official release of Clash for EU will be on the 29th. I know there is a Crash joke somewhere in there, but at this point we would be beating a decomposing horse. But besides that, nothing unusual is happening on live servers. So let's dive into PvE instead. Here Riot blessed us with 4 new skins. First of all, we got Hextech Sejuani, which some people absolutely adore because she looks more victorious than some other victorious skins. But don't be fooled. Although she looks gold and purple here, in-game she is far more cold blue. As always, these Hextech skins have really high quality spell effects, because remember, you can only get them for Hextech gems, so these better be good for that kind of price. The other 3 new skins share the same theme, Black Frost, which follows the same idea of Black Frost Anivia. Originally, Black Frost Anivia was released to show us what would happen if Lysandra corrupted Anivia with true ice. That was back when summoners were still a concept in the story, just so you know. But now we have 3 new skins with the same theme. We have Black Frost Alistar, Renekton and Rek'Sai. And all of them are bound to confuse people. You see, the moment these skins appeared on PvE, people were like, oh my god, we are getting more lore skins. But the thing is, that couldn't be more wrong. Yes, the skin line is technically themed after Lysandra and the Frostguard, both of which are canon in Runeterra. You can see the Watcher's architecture on those champions. And when Renekton recalls, he straight up flashes Lysandra's sigil. With that said, nor Renekton, nor Alistar, nor Rek'Sai have ever even seen Freljord. On top of that, should a living being even touch true ice, without them being an Iceborn, they wouldn't turn into a corrupted icy version of themselves. They would just die. So just like the Guardians of the Sand skins that show champions as if they were Shurimans, the Black Frost skin line shows champions what would they look like if they were conjured from true ice. But that has nothing to do with lore. Anyway, let's have a look at them. Unfortunately, Alistar doesn't have too many spell effects to toy with. So Riot made sure his Q is as flashy as possible, and I think they succeeded at that. Besides his Q, his model is obviously themed after true ice, and you can even see a tiny purple eye on his forehead, representing the Watchers. That's all I can really say about Alistar. Fortunately, Rek'Sai has a lot more spells, so Riot had more room to have fun, which in this case would be everything turning into ice, and give Rek'Sai a little eye on her forehead to represent the Watchers. Lastly, we have Renekton, who I think looks the best out of these. He looks like a proper beast. His blade looks like something that Ornn forged while he was making the bridge that sealed the Watchers. And would you look at that, an eye on his forehead. As you can tell from my voice, I'm not a massive fan of these Black Frost skins because they are a bit confusing, but I still think they are okay. Some people will definitely like them. But this time around, their chroma skins actually make them customizable and, dare I say it, better. Because these skins are nothing but ice, the chroma skins change their entire appearance. So for example, if you look at Renekton, you could play as an icy alligator. But with the right chroma skin, you can have a sunstone beast, an ocean elemental, or an infernal Renekton that looks more infernal than infernal. And the same goes for Rek'Sai and Alistar. The chromas are actually better than the classic skins. And that doesn't happen too often. Besides these skins, PvE also revealed a new icon that showcases the next 2 skins. All we know is that it is called Infinity Calls, which makes me think that we are dealing with new galactic skins, with one of them being a good cosmic character, like Kassadin, and the other one will likely be a dark cosmic skin, just like Dark Cosmic Jhin. And looking closely at the icon, the left person will likely be Syndra or Lysandra, because it is obviously a female, and not too many champions have their eyes covered. The dark cosmic skin could be anyone, however. It could be Nocturne because the faceless image fits him, but it could also be Dark Cosmic Elise, because Elise is the one who has those pointy things around her head. We could also say that it's Kindred, but that would be too similar to their Infernal skin. So again, as I said, the other skin could be absolutely anyone. But this icon isn't the only galactic thing on PvE, because since we know that the next TFT set will be themed around space, we got new galactic little legends. And just like it's always the case, at least when it comes to my taste, 2 of them are really good, and 1 of them is a waste of money. That's how it has been, and that's how it will always be. Nice, nice, meh. Nice, nice, meh. Nice, meh, have mercy on me. And I'm here to report nothing changed. We got this amazing little octopus. We got this amazing little space whale that is branded with the mark of the Dark Star. This will likely be my favorite. And then there is this guy. Somewhat uninspired little soldier with a lightsaber. So should I buy loads of X, which is pretty much guaranteed at this point? I already know whom I'll get the most of. And since we are on the topic of little legends, let's move away from PvE. And let's have a look at the post where Riot talked about the next TFT set. When Riot first teased the next set, they kept repeating that the things we will see will be from beyond. And so that's what I thought would be the name of the next set. Well, that ended up not being the case, because set 3 of TFT has the official name Galaxies. And here is what's happening with it. Set 3 should arrive in about 3 weeks from now, and it will bring a lot of content with it. Specifically, it will bring new champions, traits, skins, boards, little legends, and a new set-wide mechanic. Champions, traits and skins were obvious. I mean, Riot needs to give us new champions to play with. But with the release of set 3, we will get new boards straight from the beginning. Knowing that the third set is connected to Star Guardians and the other space themes, I think it is obvious that we are getting the Star Guardian board that was shown previously. And the more I look at all the promised stuff, the more it is obvious that set 3 will be connected to a bigger event. I mean, it was revealed that Mordekaiser is getting a Dark Star skin for League, TFT is getting its own Dark Star Little Legends, and then there is the mysterious space icon. So something bigger must be happening around the theme of Dark Star. Anyway, the post mentioned that TFT Galaxies will have a new set-wide mechanic. So let's have a look at what that is. During Rise of the Elements, we had the Elemental Hexes. That was the mechanic for set 2. Elemental Hexes added a lot of replayability to the game. Not only did the bonus from the hexes change each game, but their placement was also something you had to adapt to. So ultimately, I think Riot succeeded at not letting one comp dominate every game every time. Usually it was those who could utilate the hexes in the best way that would make it to top 4. So when Riot says that they are happy with how the elemental hexes turned out, and how Qiyana changing origins was a good idea, I couldn't agree more. During mountain games everyone got a bit tankier, during ocean games mages started casting earlier, and with Inferno the games ended before they began. Every game was a bit different, and that's how they wanted it. With that said, there were still some issues. The biggest issue was poor clarity. Elemental hexes took an item spot, which was super confusing to new players. And it was especially bad when people tried to give champions thieves' gloves when they were on the hexes. The game simply wouldn't allow them to do that. On top of that, the power of the elemental hexes didn't quite hit the mark. They couldn't make them so powerful that they would be essential to win. Because if they were, all players would do exactly the same thing. They would put their carry on the infernal hex and be done with it. So instead Riot had to make the hexes less powerful, which turned them into a mechanic they could safely ignore for positioning. Thankfully, the elemental hex shuffling will be gone in set 3, and instead we are getting a new mechanic. So for Teamfight Tactics Galaxies, we are getting a mechanic called Galaxies. Riot themselves admitted it wasn't the smartest name, but it fits the theme really well. Here is how it works. There will be games that will have the normal rule set, but every now and then, there will be games that will have rule sets that are different. These games will be happening in different galaxies, hence its name. So just like now you can have a mountain, ocean, wind or infernal game, in set 3 you can have a normal game, or you can have a game from a different galaxy. Thankfully, in order to make things less confusing, Riot revealed one of the special galaxies that will be ready at launch. The first special galaxy is Nicoverse. During Nicoverse games, every player will start with 2 Nico's help items in their inventory, and it is up to the players as to how they use them. They can use them to level up an early 4-cost unit, or they can make sure their hyper rolling is more effective. Or they can wait till late game and 2-star the first legendary they get. That's the kind of replayability we are dealing with here. It's not dictated by the map. as it was during Rise of the Elements. Here, the bonus is in the hands of the players. Riot then mentioned what kind of other galaxies we could also see in the future. This one is not guaranteed to be ready at launch. In fact, Riot is still working on the name for it. But Riot is playing with the idea of a galaxy where the first carousel only has 4 cost units. This will give players a new tool to play with. They could decide to play around the champion they got at the start, or they can sell it and get 2 extra golds that will help their economy going up, which will make hyper-rolling more effective. Just like it was with Rise of the Elements, you will learn what kind of game is going on during the first carousel, so you will have to adapt to different strategies from game to game. Riot then mentioned that we will get more and more special galaxies as the set goes on. So at the start we may only see 1 or 2 special galaxies besides the occasional normal one, but at the end of the set, we may see up to 10 different galaxies. Riot then explained what's their philosophy behind the galaxies. And honestly, it is pretty simple. Rise of the Elements showed us that adapting to certain situations is more fun than playing one comp over and over. In fact, that may be the reason why many of you are stuck in lower ranks now. If you look up a guide that says that light units are the best, and you decide to follow that guide, you may realize that light units are not always the best. They are the best when you are lucky enough to get them early on, and you need to get Yorick as soon as possible, and some good items on Lucian. On top of that, turning another unit light with a spatula is also crucial. And in most games, none of those will happen. In fact, especially in Rise of the Elements, you simply have to play with what the game gives you. You can't force comps like you could in set 1. And Riot wants to keep this the same for set 3. Adapting is way more fun than looking up guides. But besides these forced adaptations, Riot also wanted a system they could expand later on. With the 4 main elements, there wasn't much Riot could have done with the hexes after their release. But here, in set 3, they can keep adding more and more galaxies to keep the game fresh. They mentioned that if they see different comps being played during different galaxies, they will know it is a success. And finally, let's talk about Eternals. It's been a while since we have seen anything about Eternals. In fact, I kept joking about them simply vanishing after so many amazing announcements, simply because Eternals were the only thing that the players didn't like. But now that there is a new update surrounding Eternals, the question is, do players still not like them? Well, let's have a look. Riot released both a video and a post explaining the new changes to Eternals. Both essentially cover the same info, but the post is a bit more detailed, so let's use that as the main source of information. At the beginning, Riot mentioned how excited they were about bringing champions-based stats into the game, which is understandable since achievements were a concept in League back in Season 2. So after 8 years, they better be excited about bringing achievements into the game. The thing is, players didn't appreciate the fact that Riot is selling achievements for RP. Achievements are something that should expand your normal gameplay, but Eternals are pretty much the equivalent of selling stat tracker weapons. Which is fine, but paid stat trackers don't have the best reputation in gaming. Well, Riot said that they listened to our feedback, and so here is what they are changing. First of all, Eternals should be more skill-expressive trackers. So less trackers showing how many enemies you killed, and more trackers showing how many skill shots you predicted. The second change is that Riot will be offering a way to earn Eternals without spending RP. And lastly, there will be a big discount for people who would like to get more Eternals for multiple champions. On paper, these changes sound good. So let's dig deeper to see if they are really that good. At launch, there will be 2 kinds of Eternals. A starter series and series 1. Each series will contain 3 Eternals per champion, with more trackers being released later after Riot sees what stats people like. The stats will start tracking as soon as you unlock them, which means there will be no backwards tracking. So if you have landed 1000 hooks before you got the Eternal, too bad, you will still start from 0. And after you reach a milestone, there will be a pop-up in the game, and after a lot more milestones, it will even upgrade your mastery emote. But in-game is not the only place where your milestones will be visible. You will also be able to find them on the back card during loading screen. Which isn't anything special since players rarely use these back cards anyway. But more importantly, Eternals will also be shown on your death screen. And that's probably the coolest way to showcase them. So now if you die to Lee Sin, you will also get to see how many players he kicked with his ultimate. And of course, you will be able to customize which Eternals you will show on your loading screens and death screens. But now let's have a look at what the Eternal sets contain. Right now the plan is to have 2 kinds of Eternals. Common Eternals, which will be up for 75 RP, and Unique Eternals, which will be up for 200 RP. But keep in mind that you won't be able to buy them separately. They are only sold in bundles of 3 Eternals. So depending on how many commons or uniques there are in a set, it will be cheaper or more expensive. So for example, if there is a set with 3 uniques, it will cost 600 RP. You can't just buy one for 200. Common Eternals are your normal stats like takedowns or epic monster kills. Unique Eternals is where all the fun is. These are specifically made for specific champions, such as how many times you have landed an ultra long ultimate as Ashe. And if you are interested in seeing all the unique Eternals, Riot gave us a full list of them as well. As a Bard main, I get a counter that shows how many meeps I have collected, the total distance I have traveled through gates, and how many times I have caught 2 enemies with a single Q. And here's my issue with that. I am fine with the tracker showing me how many people I have stunned. But a number to show me how many meeps I have collected? How is that skillful? Later in the post they even mention how they are trying to make Eternals show more skill. And yet, I got a tracker showing me how many meeps I have collected. There are 2 issues with this. First of all, I honestly think nobody cares about that number. But secondly, and this is more important, without context, that number has no meaning. The only difference between a bard that got 100 meeps and a bard that got 1000 meeps is that one player played longer. That is not a skill. But this can be easily fixed, and I don't understand why Riot doesn't do it. Instead of showing these weird numbers, it should show you average values per game. For example, instead of showing me that I have collected 300 meeps across all my games, it should show me that on average I have collected 60 meeps per game. That is the number people care about. That is what shows you how good you are. Average numbers, not total numbers. A better example would be Braum. Instead of giving me a number that shows how much damage I have blocked with the shield across all my games, show me the highest amount of damage I have managed to block with a single shield. That would be an amazing Eternal for Braum. But you know what's worse than an Eternal that shows me how many meeps I've collected? An Eternal that shows me distance measured in units I don't understand. Total distance traveled with Magical Journey? In what unit? Meters? Feet? Yards? You understand we are playing a game where distance is just an optical indicator. I know how long Blitzcrank's hook is visually, but I have no idea how many yards that is. On top of that, there are literally 2 countries in the world that use yards. So had you shown me the travel distance is 500 or 5000, it would be no different to me. I have no concept as to how much that is anyway. I doubt my enemies would be amazed by seeing I have traveled a million imaginary units. But anyway, let's keep going. Next they mentioned the way to get Eternals without paying. Besides the unique Eternals, there will also be the starter sets we have mentioned at the beginning. These sets contain 3 common Eternals and are sold for 2500 blue essence or 225 RP. Since these contain nothing but commons, these will be your normal takedowns, turret destroyed and monster kill trackers. Since they are for blue essence, I guess it's fine to at least have something. What's a bit cooler is that Riot is introducing Eternal capsules. You will not be able to buy these, which is nice. You can only earn them as an extra reward in ranked splits. This capsule will contain some orange essence and 2 shards of random Eternal sets. These shards can fully unlock an Eternal set with orange essence, which essentially means that you can get 2 random free Eternal sets at the end of a ranked split, which honestly is a really nice change. At the end of the post we got one last piece of information. As they said, if you want to get multiple Eternals for multiple champions, there will be a big discount. The 2 ways to get Eternals are buying them separately, which may get a bit pricier the more champions you have. Or if you want to have Eternals for literally every champion, you can buy a pass that unlocks everything for 5850 RP, which, if you do the math, is more than 90% discount. So overall, if you want my opinion on the system, I think with the latest update, they turned Eternals from something people didn't like into something people are okay with. Which is still not ideal. People still don't like the idea of paying for achievements. So Riot, please do this. Should I buy an Eternal set? Give me a skin capsule or 2 if I complete all the milestones. That way I will not be paying just for the stat trackers. But at the end there will also be a reward that will give me some RP value. It would be a nice reward for players with dedication. And the value of Eternals would go up. But at this point I might be just reaching. I am trying to artificially give value to some weird unique Eternals. I mean, Gragas counts how many times he got drunk. I don't wanna see 19-digit number on my death screen. Hey, did you know that we have social media and Twitch where we talk about other league facts and stories? And did you know that we have need mugs and shirts too? The links to all of that will be below. And as always, thank you, come again.